All right, everyone, welcome to Street City Studio. I'm John, and in today's video, we're going to cover a couple of things. I started setting up a photo shoot. If you saw, I posted a short about it last night. I started setting up this photo shoot with the Hulk here, and I was going to use myself as the civilian whose bike is getting ripped apart, right? But I noticed my nose has some paint chip on it. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Right on the tip of his nose there, he's got a dark spot because the skin tone chipped off. And so I can't really do what I want with this figure. I can't keep him front and center in all these videos till I take care of that. I really don't like that. But luckily, I'm the one that made it, so it's not too much trouble for me, right? I've got some skin tone here, and now I know this says Tamiya acrylic paint flesh tone, but unfortunately for me, I mix my own colors. All these colors I have mixed as I see fit. And so this one is not quite the same shade as it was when I did this figure. If I can find them quickly here. Yep. It is a little closer to this skin tone, which is the last time I used this skin tone. And so I'm trying to decide, and I really haven't decided, if I'm going to make myself slightly darker, because I definitely, if you can see my skin right here, right? There's definitely a range that I could get away with. I don't think that that's going too dark, really. If anything, this was a little pale, but I didn't mind it. I don't mind it. So I was deciding if I was going to try and lighten this paint up or just use it as is. And it's really not, like I said, I usually mix my own colors. So it's really not that much trouble to grab the white here. And I think that's what I'm going to do, because the more I look at it, it is a little too orange and a little too dark, right? Just to kind of stand apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some white and mix it in here. Now I can try and do this on camera, but I don't know how well we're going to get down in there. Right? But I just want to lighten it up a bit. Something like that should be pretty much exactly where I want it. Get in there and mix it up real good. And I'll take a look at it. And I'll show you guys kind of how I eyeball it too. Because I tend to eyeball everything. But I've been mixing my own colors for something like 15, 20 years now. Somewhere in that range. And I am a big fan of Tamiya paints. They have good consistency, good bonding. But I tend to run out of my colors, and then I'll just start mixing what I have to get what I want, right? Like a skin tone. And I'm already looking at it. Try and show you guys here. Let me set this brush down so I don't get paint everywhere. And let me get this light up in here so we can get a good look at it. Right. It's a little lighter, and you can see the wet stuff around the rim of the jar there compared to the dried up stuff. Right. It's almost the same color as the dried up stuff, so I want to go a little lighter. So we need more white. All right, and that's what I do. That's basically what I do. I'll mix it, and then I'll compare what's on the lip. Right? Because that didn't make a big difference. I don't want to underdo it. Probably go a little heavy just to get that difference. Just to make a dent, right? Get in there and mix it up. And now when I mix it up, there's probably not much I can teach anybody. It's just mixing is mixing, right? But I like to swirl around and around, get it all kind of twisted, and then I'll give it a side to side real fast for a little while, and then more circular, and then side to side, circular, side to side, right? Just like that, back and forth. And I'll take a look, right? I'll wipe it off on the lip and kind of get an idea where we're at. And that's looking a lot lighter already, see? I'll get this light up in here. And you can see, especially with Thunderbird right there, you can see it's a little lighter than his skin already, see? And a lot closer to what I'm looking for. I don't think it's quite as pale as this, but that's okay. I don't necessarily need it as pale. I do think I'm going to go a little lighter. Just a little lighter, but not quite as much as I did the last two times. Right about there, I think. Now, like I said, you just make sure it's mixed up real good. And I don't really consider myself much of a teacher, so if I miss things that you guys have questions about, feel free to ask. Because I'm not much of a educator per se, but anything I have, knowledge-wise, I'm happy to share. Something we haven't talked about is cutting the paint, and I'm not going to be adding anything to cut this paint because I've already done that in the past, and I don't want my paints too thin. But I do recommend, especially with brands I'm familiar with, like Tamiya, you definitely want to cut your paints with something, water, or I used to use Windex, right? Blue Windex to cut the paint because it had that little bit of ammonia or whatever in it. Water tends to dry the paint out, and I think that was the Windex kept it soft instead of drying it out. But the water works in a pinch. It'll definitely thin it, but if you let it breathe too much, it'll dry out and get real cracked, crumbly, and it won't soften up as well the next time. But I have and do use water anyways. Acrylic paint is fairly cheap, so it's not the end of the world. But I'm gonna get him out of here so I don't get any of this paint on him. That would be a shame. But like I said, I definitely wanted to do some repair here. And now this is kind of my main brush, and this is what I was gonna start with this one, but I do think that this brush is a little big for some of these tighter areas. And actually this light's not great right there. Let me back it up. All right, but some of these tighter areas around his bottom lip and beard there, right, around his hairline, and especially around his eyes and eyebrows right? Because I'm not exactly looking to redo all of his hair paint and all of his beard paint and redo his eyebrows if I can help it. I hadn't thought about it before I started, but I'm going to need a different brush. This is kind of my typical brush. I've been using this brush for pretty much everything. I used it to paint most of that Hulk and everything, but I do have some new brushes here that I'm going to have to break out for a smaller, pointier brush. And I got these from my sister-in-law for Christmas. And I'll have to decide. I'll probably go with one of these smaller ones, just because that's what I'm looking for, right? Smaller, the pointier, the better. How's it sound? I'm gonna open over here. It's got a sticky seal like an envelope. Let me get this small pointy one. Yeah, I think these are all smaller than that, so almost any of them would be better, except for maybe this very last one and a couple of these real fat ones there. I'll just go with the mid-range small, and not the smallest, but fairly small. And these are really nice. I'm surprised I didn't break these out earlier. I had meant to, and I haven't been doing a lot of painting and stuff. But those are very nice. Right. Now, when you first get brushes like this, and again, I don't get a lot of brand new brushes very often, so I don't think of it always, but you kind of want to get them wet and break that. They kind of got like a stiff, I don't know what kind of chemical it is, or if it's just from being wet and how they dried it, but you kind of want to get them wet and just kind of give them a wipe to get whatever that is off and get them in a more natural state of relaxation. I don't know how to describe it, but you don't want them sealed up in that stiff position, because they come in a sealed up stiff position, and so when you go to paint, if it hasn't really, because paint can be kind of dry sometimes. That's why I was talking about cutting it too, right? And especially if you don't break that seal and get it relaxed, right? You can get in there to paint and just kind of poke and stab at your plastic without, right? You kind of want the brush to give, right? But anyways, I think we're pretty much ready to put some paint on him. And now, like I said, I kind of wanted to just slap some paint right on the tip of his nose, but because the paint I have is not going to be a perfect match, I'm going to have to kind of touch up all of the skin on his face, anywhere there's flesh tone. But basically, I'll start right at that nose, right? And now I've never painted like this quite with the camera and the lights, so I'm trying to figure it out here a bit. But if it's a little dark, you'll have to forgive me. Let me play with this. I had set the lights up differently than I normally do, trying to prepare for this. And I thought I had it pretty good, but as soon as I pull forward, right, so I can see it better, it comes out of that light. Let me see if I can adjust this light instead. Right. Maybe this light over here needs some adjustment. That'll probably help. Let me set him down so I got two hands. But if I can tip that. Let's see. Yeah, it gives me a little bit more light here. I can pull this way too, so we got a little more. Trying to get the focus adjusted on him here, but I think the light's too strong behind him. Let's see. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Now you can see that damage on his nose real good. Alright, so now we can get to it. Make sure this brush is wet again, because this paint does dry pretty quick. And now I'll say, it's a strange thing. As I get older, I learn more about painting and tips and tricks and whatnot, and you would consider it getting better. But as I get older, my hands get shakier, cramp up quicker, and so it kind of balances out. The more you learn, but you become more mentally capable, but physically less. It's a strange thing. But I'm going to move around his face to kind of let that nose dry, and I can come back and kind of do a second layer before I even get to... So I don't need to do a full second layer exactly. Just kind of get in halfway while it's drying. Call it a 1.5 layer. I will say, I was thinking I might have to do his whole head, but this color looks close enough. I might just do the majority of his face. I thought I'd be able to tell the difference. But once I'm laying it down, it really doesn't. Think I got the mixture as close as I could have. I'm glad I didn't leave it alone, because I thought about it. Kind of thought, what are the chances I'm going to get this right on the money? Well, probably not very high. But, I mean, like I said, I've been doing it a while. I like to eyeball my paints. That's looking pretty good. I get a few of these little spots where it looks like the paint's worn out or not as fresh as it was. Yeah, look, his ear's got a little dark spot on it. Knock that out while I'm here, right? Yeah, it's a lot closer than I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be at least a shade or two off. Gotta be careful around that hairline. I don't want to lose any of that hairline and make my forehead any bigger than it already looks. I might be losing my hairline, but this toy don't need to. I might even bring it back down further. I think just a little more on that tip of that nose, and we're going to call it a day. That color is a lot closer than I was expecting it to be. I'm happy. I like that. No muss, no fuss. Right, that means I don't have to worry about those little spots under his, around his beard there. I don't have to worry about the spots around his eyes, under his eyebrows. Right, just get that nose covered up. Got those ears taken care of because they were looking not far off from that nose. But we're almost there. Under here's not perfect, but I don't think a little bit of paint's gonna fix all that. That's not bad though. Let's see here. Now it's just letting them dry, basically. All right. But on that note, I wanted to talk about some of these things I was doing with my lighting and get to this photo shoot. Right? I can kind of set me off to the side here. Take one last look before I do. That doesn't look too bad. I'll set me over here. And now, like I said, I've been playing with this lighting. Trying to get everything where I want it. I kind of got to go back to how I had it. Let me adjust that. But I've been complaining about my overhead lighting, and now I've moved this light up here so that I do have some overhead lighting. And I wasn't using this light bar very much, so I've used that to replace that one while it's up there, because while I wasn't really taking advantage of it, it does have a hanging mount there, and I'm using that to kind of cut them shadows out. Right? So there's not a lot of shadows back there. I've got this one and this one basically, right? And then, like I said, this one's kind of replacing one of my front facing lights. I still have the ring light off to the side here, right? But that leaves me in need of a civilian, right? Because our stage is kind of set here already. We'll just kind of crop it in like this, right? And I wasn't sure who to use, but I think that Deadpool trailer's got me real excited to see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine, right? And the potential of that is Hugh Jackman versus Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, right? That would be pretty sweet. And so that's what we got here, isn't it? Well, Hugh Jackman meets Wolverine, or Hugh Jackman Wolverine meets Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I kind of like that a lot. I feel like this lighting could be better maybe, but we're working on it, right? One day at a time. Today wasn't a solve the lighting problem day. Today was a nose job day. But we have made some changes to the lighting, and I do have more control. We're getting there. That does look pretty sweet though. That's good. Now, sometimes, usually, like with this paint job, I hit it with a clear coat afterwards. With this one, I'm probably not even going to bother, just because I got my hands on it every day. I did the first time I painted it, but you seen it chipped off already anyway, so I'm not even gonna bother. But normally I do hit it with a matte clear coat just to seal it up, and so you don't have a lot of chipping and fading as easily. But I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to do today, right? Get this little motorcycle ripped in half and get my little nose job done. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out with me. You guys have a great rest of your day. You keep playing with them toys, and I'll talk to you again real soon.